Yo, what is going on, everyone? It is your main man, Mizzix, and today we got some news from the Supreme Court. They have knocked down the CDC's eviction moratorium. So basically, what that means is landlords can start evicting their tenants now. So there's kind of a housing shortage in the United States right now. So maybe this will help it out, lower the price of homes or whatever. I just bought a house though, so I'm not. I don't want the price of homes to go down because the value of my house has gone up $5,000, and I bought it a month and a half ago. So I'm really hoping it doesn't affect it that much. But I am happy that they knocked it down. Obviously, it's a countrywide eviction moratorium, so that's just obviously way too much to just say no one in the United States can evict any of their tenants. I mean, that seems like a huge overstep of power, not just from the executive branch, but specifically from the CDC. I don't know who or in what world the Center for Disease Control has power over not kicking people out of property you own, right? So, like I said, I did buy a house, and at some point, I do plan on moving out. And when I move out, I plan on renting the place out. I bought a small townhouse. It's just my first starter house, obviously, and it's only 2 bedrooms. So obviously I'm gonna have to upgrade my house at some point. And when I do, I don't plan on selling this one. I just plan on renting it out because I'm hoping that over the next 5-10 years I can let some steady inflation do its thing, or some hyperinflation. I mean, at this point, who really knows? The Fed has just been printing out money to keep the economy afloat. So if the inflation keeps going the way it is, I might have to not wait long at all to rent this place out and not have to worry about losing money on it. So I'm very happy about it, but the CDC really shouldn't have power or the control over personal property, especially the personal property of homes, because that's normally like the most valuable thing someone would own is a house. This house is the most valuable thing I own. I don't have, like I said, I've only bought it a month and a half ago, so I have basically zero equity in it. So I got more equity in my car alone right now, technically, but give it a few months and the house will be the most valuable thing I own. Oh man, but this is just kind of a larger thing. I think Congress needs to take back some of their control. In my opinion, the executive branch just has way too much control. I mean, it's ridiculous. So obviously the Supreme Court said that if Congress wants to keep it going, I think they said that that'd be fine. Congress can keep it going, which makes sense to me. Obviously, Congress is the legislature. They make laws, not the CDC. The CDC doesn't just get to make up random nonsense and enforce it countrywide, even if there's a pandemic, right? Because if you just let people do whatever they want in an emergency, there will always be an emergency. So this seems like more of a state and county issue, because obviously it makes sense if your county or you live in like a big city or even like a small state. If you're a small state, maybe you live in a big state, maybe your whole big state's locked down, whatever, you know. But if a government's going to lock you down and they're not going to let you work, then obviously it would make sense that they just kind of freeze everything and they pay your rent for you. They pay the landlord, obviously, if the landlord has a house and they're not letting you, if they're commandeering your house, because if there's someone there and you don't want them there, they're basically stealing the house at that point, unless they pay you the money every month that they were already paying you. So my county in my state is not locked down whatsoever. So I do plan on moving out of here at some point and renting it out. And if this happened when I plan on doing that, and then the government said no, you can't kick them out, even though literally everywhere is open, you don't have to wear a mask. I live in Florida. There is no restrictions whatsoever. My county doesn't impose any restrictions. There's absolutely nothing. There's nothing at all from stopping you from going and working. Then, you know, it'd be ridiculous for the federal government to come along and say, well, you can't kick them out, right? So I am happy about it. This seems like very good news to me. I'm glad the Supreme Court is stepping in and, you know, limiting the power of the executive branch. Hopefully, Congress will start taking back some of their power, because they've really delegated a lot of it to the executive branch over the last 20 years or so, and I think they definitely need to pull some of that back and take some of their power back, because there's supposed to be separation of powers the legislature is supposed to have the power of the purse. Basically, that means they're in charge of all the money. Normally, that just means for like the federal budget. You know, the executive branch doesn't just get to decide things all willy nilly and come up with laws like you can't kick anyone out of your house because we declared that your part of the country is a hot zone. Which, by the way, that's basically they declared the whole country. I don't know, a hot zone, whatever the term is, whatever they call it. I don't know exactly the term they use, but they basically declared the whole country high risk. It wasn't the entire country, but it was basically the whole country. So then they said everyone in this high risk part of the country, which is the vast majority of the country, they said no kicking anyone out, which is absolute nonsense. Even if there's, like I said, even if there's an emergency going on, a public health emergency, the CDC shouldn't get to just commandeer everyone's personal property, and not just like a little thing. Like, it's one thing if I'm trying to even think of something small that they would commandeer, right? But like the house is the most valuable thing you own, so I can't imagine how they could take something more important than your house, other than like your life, right? This is like the most valuable physical thing anyone would own, and they're just commandeering it. And I mean, I understand that like maybe the landlord isn't living there right now, but if I spend 30 years paying this place off, maybe I'm not even finished paying it off yet, but I spent all that time working so that I can acquire it, and then they're just going to take it away from me. I mean, I can't see any better way to violate someone's rights than just taking the most valuable thing they own and not giving it back. So I hope you guys enjoyed this one. It was very good news for me because it restores a little bit of my faith. Because, like I said, I bought this small house, and I do plan on buying another bigger house at some point. But this is just a small renter house, or a small starter house that I'm going to plan to rent out. Because the first house that you buy is just kind of the easiest one to buy. The federal government kind of helps you out along the way. They'll pay some of the fees, and then when tax season comes along, I'll get reimbursed for quite a bit of those fees that I did have to pay. So I'm hoping that this plan will work out for me, and this Supreme Court ruling kind of affirms that what the CDC is completely unconstitutional and cuts against everything that's American. And the last thing I really wanted to touch on with this is I'm also disappointed that the dissenters in the Supreme Court, there was 3 of them, they disagreed with the ruling. Obviously, that's what a dissent is. But they weren't arguing like any law in particular that like, oh, well, we have this case to look back on and it's been a precedent that they're allowed to do this. That's not what they were arguing at all. All they argued is that there's COVID going around and it makes sense to keep everyone inside and lock down if there's COVID. Which, yeah, I mean, if you're the Supreme Court, it's your whole job is to decide what's constitutional and what's not, what's allowed and what isn't. And then when 6 of the 9 of them say, no, there's no law that allows this to happen in the CDC, you can't do that. And then the other 3 who disagree are like, they don't point to any specific law or anything like that. They just say that it makes sense to do. It's a good policy is what they're calling it. So a little disappointed on that part, but I am glad. It's a good day. I hope you guys enjoyed the video. Be sure to hit that like and subscribe button. There's some videos on screen now. Peace.